This is Voicemail, the Universal Postal Union's podcast covering the wonderful world of mail. I'm your host, Ian Kerr. UPU Deputy Director General Marjan Osvald joins me in a moment to talk about gender equality in the postal sector. We discuss his new role as the inaugural UPU Gender Equality Champion and what the postal sector more broadly can do to help achieve gender equality. Joining me on the line is Marjan Osvald, the Deputy Director General at the UPU. Marjan, welcome. We're going to have a discussion today about gender equality and what's happening at the UPU in that regard. But let's start with the question that we ask all of our guests. Can you share with us your first memory of the post?
Thanks, Ian. Actually, that's a tough one. I worked in Slovenia Post for 25 years, and that was not my first job. But if I remember well, I would say I was serving army. That was in the late 80s, and my mother was so kind, and she sent me almost every 2 weeks very nice, well-ordered parcel with food and with some cookies and some homemade stuff. So I enjoy it a lot.
Now, you're the first to be appointed as UPU Gender Equality Champion. So what does this role mean? Well, what does it mean to you? And in your opinion, what's the mission of this role?
First of all, I have to say, you being an Australian, actually, I'm so grateful that Australian government proposed this function to UPU, and Metoki, Director General, in a way, approved this function. It means in a way a lot to me. It means that people recognize I can work with people. I try to listen, and I was always in a way very cautious when it comes to, if I may say, female colleagues. When I was working for different department whatsoever, showing respect and listen to the people, that's in a way how I try to fulfill this goal.
Now, the International Women's Day theme this year is Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. How do you see the links between a successful digital transformation and achieving gender equality? It was in the post and even more broadly. And what's the importance of this link for advancing sustainable development?
Well, digital transformation simply will not succeed without gender equality. It is in a way essential that the viewpoints, experience and talent from participants of all genders and ability are included in the journey toward digital transformation. We must take into account the needs of all individuals. Only by being inclusive can we benefit from the perspective of women as well as men.
Then how do you see the current state of things in relation to gender equality, and particularly the position of women in digital innovation within the postal sector? Are there any recent changes in this area? I mean, are you positive, in fact, about the direction and speed of these changes? And also, I know I'm piling a lot of questions on you here. I mean, are there any remaining gaps in this as well?
If you look at it the other way around, of course, digital transformation will help to boost gender equality as long as we ensure that the transformation includes everyone. Access to digital services will improve the economic and educational position of women and men alike, and it is important also to raise awareness among boys and girls, particularly in the digital sphere, in order to break the perpetuation of gender stereotypes.
How do you see the role of the UPU in helping the postal sector address these gaps?
Specifically speaking to the situation of men and women with regard to the dedication of postal social services for the benefit of national development is a long tradition. For example, posts provide health, educational, social and financial services in addition to postal services in the developing world. We have studied postal banking and statistically proven that it's more inclusive for women than the traditional banking sector. This is in a way very important. Digital transformation will increase access to funding for small and micro enterprises, as well as women-owned businesses. Post also can and do provide access to digital services, education and training, in the use of new technologies, job opportunities for women, and in the new era of digital postal services.
Moving from sort of the role of the UPU to yourself as the UPU Gender Equality Champion, what are your major immediate objectives for the first year in this position? And do you have any sort of longer-term goals?
Well, I usually speak only about short-term goals. I try to innovate a bit. I did include in some processes internally where I, in a way, change the composition of teams. And it was in a way based on my initiative that topics including gender equality needs to be handled by female colleagues. When it comes to making vacancies or recruitment processes, it's actually I myself who decided that at least one female colleague should be a part of that panel. I'm in favor of small steps, and I believe small steps can change something.
Talking about achieving these goals and the UPU's goals as well, who are the key partners and stakeholders that can support you and support the UPU in achieving these goals?
Well, we look to the entire postal sector in order to achieve the SDGs and embrace a more sustainable vision for the future of digital society, to empower postal sector players and the entire postal community, including customers, men and women, boys and girls. Not only do we need to cooperate with postal sector players, but also international organizations with interests in the development of the economy. For instance, the International Telecommunication Union, or ITU, was formed just a few years before the UPU. Next year, we will celebrate 150 years of UPU. Its mandate, like UPU, has enabled the organization to remain relevant for 157 years. Last year, the UPU joined the ITU-led Partner to Connect coalition with a pledge to connect all post offices in the world to Internet by 2030 through its Connect Post project. Lastly, our key stakeholders and supporters of this journey are our people. I call on all of the UPU staff and members to lead by example as we strive to build a world equal opportunities for all.
Marjan Osvald, Deputy Director General at the UPU, thanks for joining us on the UPU Voicemail podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Voicemail, the official podcast of the Universal Postal Union. Subscribe to the podcast on your favourite podcast platform and you'll get each episode downloaded to the device of your choosing as it's released. My thanks to the team at the UPU for their help putting together this episode. I'm your host, Ian Kerr, and I look forward to your company next time on Voicemail, the podcast of the UPU.